Welcome to another episode of the Theater Podcast, intimate personal conversations with theater's biggest names. As always, I'm Alan, your host for the podcast.
Who would you be if you weren't?
I would just be some random guy talking on a microphone, maybe?
I guess. I'm happy you're not a random guy. I'm your usually here producer.
This episode is with the wonderful Anne Harada, who has a number of wonderful credits on her resume, one of which is my personal favorite, Christmas Eve from Avenue Q.
Yeah, that was a good one. I remember being a youngin' when Avenue Q came out, and we would watch It Sucks to Be Me, the Tony performance all the time, and we would try to copy her accent, which is not politically correct. Don't do that anymore, but she's hilarious.
I didn't ask her this, but I wondered if that show would do as well opening in 2019 as it did when it opened originally.
I think anytime you do satire, if you are smart about it and respectful in real life, but it's the same as Book of Mormon. Like, it still works because it's right.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up Matt Stone and Trey Parker specifically for their continued work on South Park and even The Simpsons for that matter.
Yeah, but Avenue Q lasted 15 years because it was satire done well and it was funny, but it made you look deeper inside of your own biases and your own stuff.
Yeah. So Anne came to us here through the promotion of what we're now calling a new soundstage musical where through NoOneCalledAhead.com. No One Called Ahead is the name of this thing, and you can go there to view the trailer, and then on June 13th, you'll be able to actually start watching it. But it is a stage production filmed for a streaming audience.
Yeah, that's a new thing, but I like the idea. I like giving people access who aren't here in New York or aren't seeing as many shows regionally or wherever. If they're not in a physical theater, this is a pretty good alternative.
I like what she said too. I asked her, I was like, do you think this is kind of taking things away from the Broadway community or whatever? And she said, absolutely not. Like, she loves all of this stuff. She loves it. I mean, aside from being in it and obviously wanting to promote it, she said that, she used Hamilton as an example of when a rising tide rises all ships, and something that is going to get more people interested in Broadway and interested in theater and interested in musicals in any format is just good for the industry. Full stop.
It's a gateway.
Yeah.
You don't just stop at that one thing that you saw. It kind of brings you to the next thing. Anybody who loves theater remembers the first show that they loved, and then all the things that kind of came after that and all the different things that were important to them.
Yeah, I totally agree. So everybody, before we get into the episode, please take a moment and visit us at thetheaterpodcast.com/Patreon. Show your support in any way you can. We want to take some of these initial patrons and help get transcriptions made. We want to help do some more in-between episodes to continue the ensemble-focused episodes that we continue to receive a ton of good feedback on. So anyway, everyone please enjoy this episode with Anne Harada. Making her Broadway debut performance in 1988 in M. Butterfly, she's also been part of productions such as Seussical, Les Mis, 9 to 5, Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella, and of course Avenue Q, where she originated and defined the iconically witty and funny role of Christmas Eve. Now starring in No One Called Ahead, a new stage musical filmed for a brand new internet format streaming exclusively on streamingmusicals.com. Anne Harada, welcome to the Theater Podcast.
Thank you very much.
It is so nice to have you here.
Well, thank you.
And I guess we normally start with your childhood, but I emphasized filmed for No One Called Ahead because this is what you're here to promote today. It's your new project that is, what do you call it? It's a streaming musical. It's a soundstage musical. That's what it's being called.
Is that what they're calling it now?
Yeah.
Look, I have no idea what it's being called. I just know that I think it's a good idea in terms of getting to perform a show and to have a lot of people get to see it in a kind of a non-traditional way.
Well, what is it for those who have no idea what I just sped out of my mouth?
I'm not sure I know what it is either, but here's the thing. Paul Gordon wrote a musical, right? He got a bunch of actors together to act it out. And it was filmed on a set, on a stage set,
Mhm.
as if we were doing it as a performance. But we didn't. It was filmed. And so it was edited together and it's going to be presented and you can watch it on your streaming service.
It'll be available on noonecalledahead.com and streamingmusicals.com. And I watched the trailer this morning to prepare for this, and it struck me as something like uniquely different. And I wanted to ask your opinion on whether you thought it was going to be the future of a fork of theater. I don't think theater will ever go completely in that direction.
I think it's going to be the future of developing theater. I think it's a way to get artists who otherwise would not be able to mount a full commercial production. It'll be a way for them to produce it and have a piece of product that then other people can watch easily, as opposed to when you mount a production in New York and you hope that people come and like it and then maybe somebody will invest in it and it'll move on to the next step. I think it's a much more efficient way.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not it proves to be lucrative or work in the same way as these, the old model works, who the hell knows? But I think it's an interesting way to do it.
I think it's incredible. And I was reading through the website, and I'm bringing this up because it's right there on the website. But all the actors that are involved in it are part of a profit-sharing program, right?
Theoretically.
Assuming there is profit?
I was going to say, 1% of nothing is nothing. And whatever. So we all know that. But I mean, it's lovely to think that we would all be involved in it should it ever come to pass.
That's an interesting way. That's a truly interesting way of doing this, because I believe, for Hamilton, Lin-Manuel was the first creator of a show to give back to the original cast for a Broadway production, at least. And
no, but there are many other productions in the past that, the cast had points in it, participatory points. The chorus line workshop, all those.
Oh, did they do that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, educate me, please.
No, I'm just saying, there's been a business model for it. It had fallen out of favor, of course, because producers don't like to give money to the actors. But in the past, there were many productions where the actors shared in some of that percentage point.
Oh, well, I think it's a smart idea here. You have a little bit more of an ownership over it. But anyway, tell me about No One Called Ahead specifically. Like, what is your role? What's the show about?
Well, okay.
Can we call it a show, or do we call it a movie?
I don't know what to call it. I'm calling it a show.
Okay.
It's a show about art. It's a show about an artist who's sort of struggling with his own, legacy and his place in the world and all of that. And he is sort of visited by, I don't know if you want to call them spirits or beings or people that apparate in front of him. I'm an angel, and I appear to him and give him advice and help him out and whatever. And there are other women who also appear in his life and act in similar ways. And it's sort of a little meditation on what it is to be an artist, and what kind of legacy do you leave behind, and does it even matter if you do, and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really funny, and the other girls are wonderful. There's hardly any time where we're all together in the same space. So we really were only together for a hot minute. But just watching them work was fun, and I don't know. I thought it was a very collaborative effort and very moving.
Is it filmed like a film, or is it filmed like a stage production where it's just one giant take?
Oh no, it's filmed like a film.
So you can make mistakes and you go back.
Oh, many, many mistakes, certainly on my part, were made. In terms of, yes, you shoot it this way and you shoot it that way. Things move around. It's a film.
Oh, that's so cool. I feel like it's going to give an audience I guess an intimacy with performers that they probably didn't have before.
Yeah, I think that's part of it too.
Because you can sit here and literally be, feel like you're several feet away from your favorite performers.
And yet we're singing live.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's that part.
Oh, so you are editing it, but you're singing live from various angles.
Correct. It's like we're singing okay, so the music's playing and we're singing like in one take.
Right.
But yes, we're shooting it several different ways, and it's different than in a regular show where you sing it through once from the front.
Yes.
So that's different, I guess.
That's fun. Well, okay, so we'll get back to that, but I want to back up to the beginning and tell me where you grew up. You were born in Hawaii, right?
I was born in Honolulu, Hawaii. And my greatest claim to fame is that I went to high school with Barack Obama. He was 2 years ahead of me in high school. We did not know each other.
I was hoping there was like we made out of the bleachers.
Wouldn't that have been lovely? But no. He was on the basketball team and I was in the theater department. And unlike High School Musical, those two worlds did not meet. So.
Well, then where did you said you were in the theater department in high school, but how did you decide you wanted to do theater? What were you drawn to?
Oh, I think just, seeing the shows at school, I was just so overwhelmed that people could do that. Kids could do that. And I just thought it just seemed so fascinating and amazing. I wanted to try for myself.
But you wanted to be on the production side at first, right? I was reading that?
Oh, I worked on the production side. I just didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to work in the theater. When you graduate from college, I don't know, maybe not you, but when I graduated from college, I didn't know if I wanted to be an actor, if I could be an actor, if I had the talent and, the desire and all that kind of stuff. So I just started trying to take as many kinds of different jobs as I could and sort of see what appealed to me. And that's always sort of been like what I've done my whole life is try to learn all the parts of the theater world.
Were your parents always supportive of that? Or were they like,
surprisingly
get a
enough, they
job?
were. I'm kind of stunned about it even now. But I think they sort of thought, well, it keeps her out of trouble and we know where she is at night. So that's something. I think, I think they were very happy that I decided to pursue something, that I cared about something enough to want to try.
Are you do you have siblings?
I don't.
No,
I'm an
only child. So they let you just go off into the theatrical world.
They did.
Put all their eggs in one basket like that. Oh, good for you, Anne's parents, if you're listening now.
I know, right?
Thank you. But you went to Brown, yeah?
Yeah.
And what did you actually get your degree in?
Theater arts and English and American literature. It's very easy to double major at Brown because there are no course requirements there. And so I was able to sort of, do a lot. But it was fun. Mm-hmm. And it was way before it was a formalized theater program. They have one now with Trinity. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And at that point, it was basically just sort of like, okay, we're going to do 4 shows on the main stage and good luck, everybody. It was not very formal.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't realize that the formalization of the theater program was somewhat of a recent thing. Yeah.
Not particularly. It's just that I was there a really long time ago.
So I found it interesting that your actual first Broadway credit is as a production assistant.
Yes.
That's fun. In 1987 for Sleight of Hand.
Yep.
So when did you move to New York though?
1985, right after I graduated from college.
So 85. And then were you trying to audition for theater or just working on the
No,
crew?
I worked as an intern for this Broadway producer. This is how I got to be the production assistant on this show. And she had the rights to this play. And so basically I got to watch kind of like from beginning to end how you produce a play. I got to be with her at casting sessions and make phone calls to investors and help set up the readings and all that kind of stuff. So kind of the nuts and bolts of producing. And I learned very quickly that I did not want to be a producer. But I also could see real people, real actors auditioning and stuff. And you go to the auditions and you're like, I'm as good as him. I'm not as good as her. I'm, you're watching it and going maybe I could do this. It helped give me some perspective on what was sort of out there.
That's such a unique position to be in. Before you ever get your first Broadway credit, you're watching other people audition for shows.
Right.
So what works. You hear all the backstage, or not backstage, I guess behind the scenes chatter of oh my God, did you see what she was wearing or what he sung or whatever it was?
And it's very instructive, especially if you are on a show with professional people, that it's sort of well, everybody's prepared. Everybody, there's a certain level of talent. And then there's people who are just way more and way less and are not right, clearly deeply not right for a part, but still very talented.
Mhm.
It becomes so obvious once you're behind the table and you have no stake. I have no stakes in it, to just be very like, oh yeah, now I see why you would cast this girl over that girl. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Without any other kind of like thing on it.
And has that helped you sort of choose which roles you want to go in for? Or
No,
what you choose?
what it's done is help me realize that I have no control over that situation.
Oh, wow.
You know, it's sort of like, okay, I'll read something and I go, I really don't think I'm right for this. And they're like, they really want you to come in. You're like, okay, maybe I will. But not to have any personal stake in it. You know, it's like, I'll do the best that I can. I know what I can bring to something. I know what I think I'm right for, but I'm happy to go in if they want me. But, you know, it's just sort of like, it takes it all that other part out. It takes like, they like me, they don't like me, I'm bad, I'm good. It doesn't matter. It's like, it will become clear if you are right for the role regardless,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. There's countless times now on this podcast, especially, I've heard stories from people who have, been doing this for a decade or more. And they're like, yeah, it's you just go in, you do your best. It's out of my control, and just make bold choices.
That's right.
And hopefully something works.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really great. I did some casting myself for I guess it was a TV thing back in, oh goodness, 04, 05, something like that. And just the immediacy of getting all the submissions and like people not knowing what actually 8 by 10 is versus 8.5 by 11.
Yeah.
And I'm like, trash. Like, just follow straight instructions. That's step one to get in the door. But anyway, I digress. 2000, you did Seussical, and I pulled a quote out of Wikipedia here, and you say, it was such a roller coaster ride. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. You just show up to work every day and go, I wonder what's going to happen today. There was way too much drama for one show to take, and it didn't deserve that kind of drama because it really is a great little show. Can you explain more about what that meant? What happened behind the scenes?
Oh, I think everybody knows what happened at Seussical. You know, we went out of town. People got fired. It was one of those situations where I felt that nobody really knew what they wanted.
You mean on the creative side?
On the creative team, or the production. It's like, for instance, you'd show up and you'd put on the costume and they'd be like, well, we don't like it. And I'd be like, well, you approved it. There's a drawing on the wall that you approved that looks exactly like what I'm wearing. So obviously people had just sort of not done their communication very well beforehand. And so things just changed very quickly during the Seussical.
Did that throw around the cast a lot, I guess?
Yeah, it was a little depressing. Yeah, it was a little unsettling, I mean, we bonded very strongly, obviously. Those are the shows where you bond with your
Right.
cast. You're very tight.
It's like, it's almost traumatic in a way, is it
It's
not?
very traumatic.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So it's a little bit, I mean, I've kind of used this analogy before, that when you're going through the 8-show-a-week schedule, or going through like 12-hour day texts or whatever it is, you're like emotionally exhausted and you just lean on each other and bond.
Yeah.
And so are you still close with the cast
I
from
am. I am
Seussical?
close
Yeah?
with some of my Seussical buddies. Very
Yeah?
close, yeah. And I don't think that ever goes away. There's a vulnerability about being part of a new production and about things changing around you, and you feel like you might not have a job tomorrow, and all that stuff that just makes people very close.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad to have had that experience, because I do love that show, and I'm so grateful for having met all the people involved in that show. But I wouldn't want to repeat that situation again.
Has anything ever come close?
No.
Or, I mean, you like, after that, you
No.
went into Avenue Q, it looks like, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
So it was, yes, 2000 was Seussical, and then 2003 was Avenue Q.
Yep.
And that sort of changed the trajectory of your career a little bit.
I would say so.
Yeah. Yeah. The original Christmas Eve. How much input did you have on the character? Or were you just kind of given the script and you're like, this is what
Oh
you
my
do?
God. I had a lot of input.
Yeah?
Because I was with the I was with the writers, and we were developing it as early as like 1999, like in little table reads and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And we all went to the O'Neill together in 2002, develop it further before we went to the Vineyard.
Mhm.
So yeah, all of the performers had a lot of input into what their characters were like. And it was great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Christmas Eve is one of the iconic roles I feel like of the past several years. I mean, she's just so unbelievably quick and smart, and I think empowering in a time before women needed to like were really starting to come out as being empowering on stage, and it hit at a time right as things were ramping up. I mean, so was this part of your conscious choice to bring it in, or were you just like, I'm gonna be my funny self and do what I need to do?
I think it was just a choice of who she turned out to be. Like there were many, many drafts of Avenue Q. And Christmas Eve had many, many jobs. She went through many jobs sort
Really?
of in the phase of the development. Oh, yeah. And when they decided she was going to be a therapist, I was like, okay, here we go. Like this makes some sense now, finally, in terms of the storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, and she always sort of acted as an advice giver and a truth teller. And I thought, great, now she has an actual reason to be like this. And it was very helpful. I just feel like at any given point in time, I'm supposed to help develop who the character is on the page, right? I get the script and I go, okay, this. And then we'd get to a scene and you'd be like, what about this or this? That's sort of the advantage of being with a project for a long time, is that you sort of build a trust with the creative team and your other actors. And you go, what do you think about that? What if we tried it this way? So, who knows? I mean, like, it was such a long process, but it was so fun always. And I just always thought Christmas Eve just has to be real. She just has to be true. There's,
Well, she is real. I think how she treats Brian, the character of Brian, it speaks to a lot of people's relationships and marriages in general. Yeah, the relationship between the two of them is great. But the show just closed, so moment of silence. Okay, there we go. But then you left to have a baby, right? To have your son Elvis.
Well, I didn't leave to have a baby. I had a baby.
Well, had a baby and took maternity leave.
I did. I took maternity leave. Then I came right back. Then I was like, now I need to take a leave. And then when that happened, they tapped me for London.
Right.
So then I took my whole family over to London, was there for 6 months, opened the show there, came back, got put into Les Mis, was in Les Mis for 6 months, finished that, went back into Avenue. It was like one of those but I ended up finishing the run on Broadway for Avenue Q.
Mm-hmm.
And I was
you went back
I was very happy to do that.
Yeah, that was what year was that?
2009.
That was 2009. Yeah, before it moved to New World Stages.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was great. I loved that you came back and kind of brought it full circle.
And I wanted to. I felt like I had something more to say after I had sort of gone away to London and tried out some stuff there. You know what I mean? To me, every part is a changing thing. And I just feel like I'm not done. I don't think I would ever really be done trying to figure out all the ins and outs of her or anybody.
Well, the show had a great 15-year run.
Yeah.
Like both Broadway and off-Broadway. How did it change, like from the beginning to the end? How did you see it? You said that, you went to London, you came back, and now you're trying new material, trying new stuff. So did every new incarnation of the character as new actors took it over, like, did it slightly change it, or was it still...
It was always it. It was always Avenue Q. But for me, as an actor, I'm trying to keep it fresh and keep it as true as I can in every given show, right? And I thought before I had left to go to London, all right, I've played this variation 1,000,000 times. I got it. And then when I was in London, I was like, no, I don't think so. I think there's more to explore. Because I had the chance and a whole new cast to kind of mess around with, I just tried some different things. And then when I came back to New York, I was like, all right, let me try that. Like, just because
Mhm.
I just don't think parts are done. I don't think you can, because things are, you have different scene partners, you have different audiences. There's always like a new thing to try, or a new kind of like approach to a line. And I just thought, well, you have got the time, you might as well take advantage of it and see what you can do.
Are the UK audiences, did they still get the jokes the same way the US
They
does?
absolutely got the jokes. It was really funny, because we were so sure they weren't going to get
Really?
so many of the jokes. Well, they're very American, some of the jokes. I mean, like, we had to change things like Long Island iced tea. Like, that was a thing that they did not know what it was.
What'd you change it to?
Absinthe daiquiri. Just like something that's like a disgusting drink. Like, like could be immediately, taken in as sounds terrible. You know what I mean? Like a bad idea of a drink. So like, that's why, but I was like, really? That's what we're wasting our time worrying about. But it was true. Like, when you're clicking along, comedy has a rhythm. And if people are sitting there going like, what's that? Then it just slows the boat down, and you don't ever want that to happen.
Yeah.
So. Well,
of course, I guess in the UK, the internet is still for porn.
Absolutely, it is.
So yeah,
they got that one fine.
Yeah. That's still one of my all-time favorite songs. Did you find it hard, or how did you balance being a new mom with still continuing on this like kind of upward career trajectory?
I think that's something that every mother who's an actor has to grapple with, and everybody has a different way of dealing with it. I was very lucky. I had a great deal of support. My parents moved from Hawaii to like basically be my nanny and my butler. You know what I mean? And they came with us to London as well. So I always sort of had childcare. I wasn't worried about that part of it, which was such a load off of my mind. And especially because the schedule is so dreadful for newborns when you're on
horrible.
Broadway, because you're like out all night, and the baby has to sleep, blah blah. It was just a nightmare. So I'm so grateful for that. I was very, very lucky. I don't wish it on anybody. It's brutal.
The motherhood thing, or
just in
motherhood
terms
and
of
acting?
like, I loved, and I love being a mother, but it's so hard to like match it up with like, the nighttime schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it. I like following people like Stephanie J. Block now, and people like Laura Benanti, who post so publicly about struggles of being a successful working mother in theater. And as a parent myself of two little ankle biters with normal hours, I still find it hard. I have no idea how you did it, how they did it,
I don't know.
They're doing it.
I have no idea how I'm doing it now, frankly. And my kid is 14.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's still hard. I'm super tired. I just want to like fall down all the time and nap. I'm so tired.
Yeah.
But like, what are you going to do?
Third cup of coffee right here.
Everybody's got something, and actors, we have a weird schedule. That's the name of the game. It sucks on the weekends so much.
Oh, yeah. Because you're not home so much.
Home.
Yeah.
You're never home.
When did he start coming to the theater with you?
Oh, very young.
Really?
My husband would bring him around, and we'd breastfeed, all that kind of stuff. And he loved the puppets.
Of course,
a little toddler, and Avenue Q's always been a very family friendly place, believe it or not, backstage anyway. But like I'm thrilled that he likes the theater. I don't think he's going to be in the theater, but he seems to enjoy it, and he loves going backstage. So, it's like, well, my job here is done. If I can get him to the point where he goes to the theater voluntarily and is excited about things, I'm like, great, that's all I need.
What's he want to do? Does he talk to you about that at all?
No idea. Could not tell you. I think YouTube celebrity is his eventual goal.
Seems so easy to do,
I know,
right?
doesn't it?
Yeah, just post some crap out there and hope you get hurt.
That's everybody, I think.
Yeah, well, fame does not come easily for
No,
most people.
no.
But no, would you encourage him to have a life in the arts?
That's what he wants.
Yeah?
How could I not encourage him to have a life in the arts?
I don't know.
I have a life in the arts.
I've talked to some people who were like, this is so hard, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy.
Well, yeah, but am I doing it because it's easy? You know what I mean? It's sort of like, what are our choices?
Well, why are you doing it?
Because I love the theater. It's all I've ever wanted to do was work in the theater. I couldn't not work in the theater. So what am I gonna say? Oh, it's so hard, I shouldn't do it. That's ridiculous.
What do you get when you step on stage and you feel that audience? Like what is it about it that draws you to that?
Oh, it's the thrill of being able to connect with all of those people, to know that you, for better or for worse, have their attention for a short period of time, and to make them laugh, and to entertain them. I think it's so lovely. I think it's so valuable for us to have a community. And I think people for millennia have been getting together in big groups in front of a stage to watch things. And there's something about the collective watching of it that elevates it.
Mm-hmm.
That we have less and less of right in this world right now. Even before, when there were only 3 channels on television, you had a fighting chance of seeing the same thing at the same time with a whole bunch of other people and having a shared experience. Maybe they weren't all next to you, but you at least knew the next day you could talk about it at the office, Okay. Well, now you can't do that because there's 500 channels and everybody's watching their own thing and whatever. Unless it's some sort of, big event, like it's the end of Game of Thrones or whatever. But I'm just saying, like, there's so few events like that. And like in our world, it might be like the Tonys or the Oscars, where we all know we're watching the same thing on the same day at the same time. There's a power to that. There's like a when you're all sharing a communal experience, you are reminded of your humanity and what it is, why we are who we are. I just feel like there's something so beautiful about being in a theater with everybody else watching the same thing. It's church. I mean, to me, that's where I feel the most happy and contented.
Do you have any sort of preference towards making people laugh versus making them cry? Or is it just, you just want to make them feel?
That's it. You just want to make them feel something. Yeah. Yeah.
So then, okay, so that kind of leads me back to No One Called Ahead. Was it hard when filming that to not have an audience?
Oh, I was so grateful we didn't have an audience.
Really?
Oh my God. Are you kidding? It was so hard because we just, it was very similar to some TV experiences where I've had where, we didn't really have enough time to rehearse. So I was just grateful that was like, I was making all my mistakes, in front of fewer people as opposed to more people. But it was so, it was really, really fun. I really think that the intimacy of it is going to draw people in. It was funny when I was watching the trailer, it kind of reminded me of watching like TV movies when I was a little girl.
Oh, really?
And going like, oh, this could kind of be like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
I just think it's such an innovative way to try to get a project going.
Yeah.
Or at least get that project out to the public. I feel like a lot of the models that we've had in the past, especially for smaller musicals, haven't really been the most cost-effective, practical. I don't know how, like, let's say you're part of a festival for new musicals or something like that, where you still have to spend so much money just to mount like a simple production in a terrible off-Broadway theater, and like rip down your set in 15 minutes so we can change it for the next one. I mean, like that just seems so against what we're trying to do here. So I'm thrilled that there's another kind of business model. I hope that it works, and I hope that other people will find success in it.
Yeah, I've noticed like end of 2018 into this year 2019 that there've been, it's kind of like a technology, sort of a startup bubble in around the Broadway community, the theater community, because there's this, right, streamingmusicals.com and Stage Network and a couple others that are like Broadway HD that are taking the theater and bringing it to people who may never get to New York.
Right.
And is that, do you feel, I mean, you sort of already answered this, I think, that you feel it's adding to the I guess the ecosystem. That's the word I'm looking for.
Absolutely, it is.
Yeah.
Everything is. I feel now that every platform, every streamy thing, every kind of media is only helping each other. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
At this point, I don't feel like we're competing against each other. I feel like everything branded Broadway is good for Broadway. Every show, like Hamilton, lifts all the boats. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Because people, if they find something and they're enthused about it, they will keep looking. They will keep going. That's just what we're like. You know, we like a show on Netflix and we're just like, maybe this one will be good because I like this guy. You know what I mean? It just keeps going. There's a chain. And so I sort of feel like that's what we have to encourage. Like I don't know. I don't know a good way of putting it. But I sort of feel like if you're somebody who cares about any musical on Broadway, you're going to find another musical you like. And then maybe your fandom of that musical will take you to something else. And pretty soon you're somebody who's really into Stephen Sondheim. You know what I mean?
Right.
Hadestown could be your gateway drug or whatever to get to the rest of the canon.
Mm-hmm.
Or any show.
Yeah, you follow
the
composer, you follow an actor,
exactly.
An actress, or whoever it is. Yeah.
And all of us are already in the church. So it's sort of like we all care, but we're such a small community. And so unless we get out there to a wider world, it's not really going to matter.
Yeah. There's a lot of opportunities, technologically speaking, that I think we're going to start seeing companies take advantage of it in a good way in the next few years. And I think this is a perfect example of that. And whether or not this works, hopefully it does, we're going to learn from it and we'll improve upon it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, something's going to come out and change the game. And it should, hopefully it's this.
And even if it doesn't, it'll just be another way.
Yeah.
It doesn't, it might not solve every problem in terms of that sort of thing, but it might be another way for other people.
You know what I love about the internet and podcasting, sort of this sort of thing too, is that once it's out there, it lives in perpetuity.
Correct.
It's just there. And, you look at celebrities who try to take their scandals offline, it doesn't go away. And in a good way, that's working to everyone's advantage. So if everyone wants to find this 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, it's in digital form. It's not going to degrade.
Well, maybe that's good or bad, depending on my performance. But we'll see.
Well, it releases June 13th, 2019, which is very soon. So very soon. So yeah, well, hopefully we'll start seeing that all over the place. But I want to get back into a little bit of your career. So you closed Cinderella in 2015. And of course, you were working with the lovely Laura Osnes.
She's an angel.
Santino Fontana. And my friend
greatest.
Marla Mindell, who's now got, she's all over the Netflix.
She is the sassiest.
She is a queen. I love her.
Oh my God, Marla Mindell.
I love her. And then, so that was 2015. And between then and now, you've been doing a lot of regional, yeah? Yeah, it was Muni and Paper Mill.
Yeah, I've done the Muni and I've done Paper Mill.
And Bucks County, I think you had.
Bucks County. And some off-Broadway stuff.
Yeah. And is that, someone told me that you're spending more time with your family, or are you kind of like...
I'm trying not to be out of town so much because I would rather be with my kid until he graduates.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's very hard to have a career outside of New York with a kid. I just, it makes my husband a de facto single father.
Mhm.
And you're just not there. You just don't have a presence, and I would rather try to be there if I could. I don't mind working short jobs, but longer jobs are more problematic.
Yeah. So he's 14, you said. So
Yeah.
now for the next 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
Hopefully you'll be sticking around.
Once
Yeah.
he goes to college, I'm just like, take me to Cleveland. That's fine. But right now I'm like, I really don't want to, but thank you.
Have all the roles that you've taken been sort of like the sassy comedic type, or have you ever been able to really sink your teeth into a dramatic role?
Oh, I feel like I've done both, and and I enjoy both. I enjoy plays just as much as musicals, and I just feel like I don't know. What am I trying to say? I'm at the point where if somebody has an interesting idea about me, I'm more than willing to give it a shot.
Like you were saying earlier, I don't think I'm right, but they want to see me.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, you think I can play that part? Okay. That's what I felt about the Muni, because this summer I'm going to go off and play, in Matilda, the Leslie Margarita role, whose name I cannot remember at all right now. Mrs. Wormwood. Hello, yes. Mrs. Wormwood. And as you know, Leslie Margarita is a very talented woman who can do a cooter smash, and she dances. She's very glamorous and kick her leg over her head. And I can do none of those things. And I am none of those things. So I was like, really? That's the part you want me to follow? But at this point, it's like, what have I got to lose?
I haven't heard the term cooter smash in 14 years. So thank you for bringing that back. Wow, that brings back memories. On Smash, you played the stage manager.
Yes.
Wait, the stage manager of the show within the show.
Yes.
Yes. Did you enjoy?
Oh my God, it was the greatest job of my life.
Really?
Are you kidding me? I had nothing to do. I had no responsibility. All I had to do every day was show up, sit next to Jack Davenport, and pretend to take notes. It was amazing. It was like the greatest job I've ever had. One time, I got to sit next to Angelica Houston, and we got to watch Bernadette Peters all afternoon sing a song.
That sounds horrible.
Doesn't that sound terrible? I was like, this is the greatest day of my life. I don't have to do squatty boo. And it was awesome. And I just loved the idea that I could go back to a set over and over. Because that's, I've never done a lot of TV work. So
yeah.
Just to be able to come back and know, oh my God, that camera guy, and that's his name, and that's what he's going to do. And that whole thing was great for me. So lovely. Everybody in the show was wonderful. They're all theater people. They're actual people. They're not weirdos. They talk to you and
of course. Do you want to do more TV?
I would like to, but, that's not under my control. But I really... to be a part of Smash was very special just because of the connection to Broadway. And, I'm very, very grateful for that opportunity. That might never happen again, that we get another Broadway soap opera type-y thing.
I think, like I said, I think this is the beginning where that sort of paved the way. And do you feel like it was ahead of his time at all? Because I feel like that might have been putting too much hardcore Broadway out to people who have never experienced before, and they're like, this is too different.
Okay, here's the thing. It probably was a little ahead of its time, because to me, Fosse Verdon is so inside baseball.
Yeah.
And if that thing, if normal people are watching Fosse Verdon and they care, I'm like, what happened? Because to me, that's so much more Broadway in terms of you'll get more out of it if you know why there's a Pippin song playing right now. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, who's going to know that? In my mind, other than those of us already in the church. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So obviously, viewership is diversifying and changing and being more niche. I just, just the way shows are nowadays, right? Mm-hmm. So I do in a way feel like it was a little ahead of its time. And I also feel like it probably should have been on a cable network.
Yeah.
Like that it would have done better if it had been on Showtime or HBO or something a little more where we'd have more, what is the word that I want? It could have been a little more explicit, not necessarily sexually, but we could have been more specific about it as opposed to sort of generally, and now it's Broadway. And I'm like, well, not exactly. Because, obviously there were a lot of holes that we sort of had to skip over to get to the next part of the plot. And you'd just be like, what?
You get a little darker on an HBO, yeah.
Yeah, but I just was like, wow, things are different now. And I absolutely think it would be a better show, or at least maybe a little more sense than what we had.
Yeah. Well, I enjoy Fosse Vert and I enjoy Smash too. But
of course, no, they're both great. And, they're not the same. They're but like just to say that there's two.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, amazing.
Right. Well, we are coming up on our time here for the end of the podcast, and there are 3 standard questions I ask everyone on the podcast. All right. Number 1, very simply, what motivates you?
What motivates me?
Yeah.
Joy. I feel like it's very important to remember why we put ourselves through these sorts of things. And I feel like it's more to sort of focus on how it feels to be on a stage and to tell stories with other people.
Okay. Second question, what advice would you give to your younger self or younger people listening now starting out down a similar path?
Well, younger self already knows younger self should have taken dance class. And lots of it a long time ago before younger self got too old to do that. So that's my thing. In terms of advice to people now, it's absolutely trust that you are enough. I feel like I spent so much time trying to be something I wasn't, to sort of fit into a mold that I thought would be more commercial, which is ridiculous because nobody was going to be fooled. Even me with long hair and maybe being a little skinnier, I still don't have the talent to be in a lot of shows. But I tried really, really hard to fit into a certain mold, and it was ridiculous. I'm me. I'm still going to be me, so why bother?
All right.
Just be you.
Last question. If you could only see one show for the rest of your life, but you can see it as many times as you want, what would you see?
What a horrible question that is. Who answered this question? What did they say? I'm going to say William Finn's Falsetto Land. All the parts. In Trousers, Falsettos, Falsetto Land. In Trousers, March of the Falsettos, Falsetto Land. Those 3 parts.
All right.
The Marvin trilogy.
All right. So we can find you on Twitter at Ann Harada, on Instagram at I am Ann Harada. And of course, everyone, please go to noonecalledahead.com. Coming to your favorite device on June 13th. You can also find it on streamingmusicals.com. You can get more of me, thetheaterpodcast.com. Support us via /Patreon. You can get us on Instagram and Twitter, theater_podcast, or facebook.com/official theater podcast. Subscribe wherever you are listening, rate, review, share, just tell your friends. This is produced by Jillian Hockman, edited by Matthew Hendershot, and as always, thank you to Jukebox the Ghost for the lovely music, and thank you for being here. This has been lovely.
Thank you.
Everything is only for now.
Take a deep breath, make the world a little colorful.